Well, we got just 1 more minute.
Okay, I will then get our projector going.
Ooh.
I don't think I can get the screens going off on you though, Abby. Probably. We'll see.
Oh, that's right. He said he was really bad.
I push the button. I'll see if it works. Oh, well, yeah, and we're probably supposed to get those on. That's okay.
So is Kurt Paulson not coming or he's coming or?
I haven't heard. I was looking for. Oh, good to see you, man.
What is it? Chicken
Hi, he's not.
I didn't see hiding back.
I know.
Okay, are we ready? Okay, it's getting. Is everybody ready?
And worship, and you only worship
Well, it's getting close to 7. Are we ready, folks?
We haven't been trained on these
Yeah, we
yet,
did.
so that's why they're not.
Yeah, they're not live.
We don't know how to turn them on.
Well, welcome you all to the Middleton City Hall, and I open the meeting of the Middleton Plan Commission Tuesday, January 23rd, 2018 to order. And the first item on the agenda is the roll call.
Okay. Commissioners Reed,
Here.
Hubbard,
Here.
Brar,
Here?
Sellers, Olson, Dorn, and 6 are present. Paulson is absent.
Okay. Did we know anything?
Yeah, we knew he was going to go out.
So we knew- Okay, so the next item is approval of the minutes.
I move approval.
Second.
Okay, so I'm going to call the motion to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. So the next one on the agenda is the specific implementation plan modification for signage for Market West Apartments. You want to
Mark,
explain?
review
Mark,
this.
you want to take it?
Because Mark is in Market West, I was assigned this one, so. The applicant is, the developer there is wanting approval of 2 single-sided ground signs, one at each driveway entrance. And the sizes are listed in your packet, and I just realized that I could have included an air, oh, there is an air photo. Okay, good. So there's an air photo in your packet, and it shows where they're going to be located, and both sides will have landscaping around their bases, so our recommendation is to approve the design and placement of the signs, and contingent on both signs being outside of utility easements.
Second.
Yep.
Agree, I think they look good. Any other questions, further discussion? David, you like the signs? Anyone else? So Dennis, they are lighted, you like that?
Yeah, I like them at night the most.
Okay, you like them? Okay, so the motion is to approve the SIP modification for signage for the Market West Apartments. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Wow, boy, that's pretty good start, isn't it? So, well, we can do number 3. Is it 5 yet?
It's almost.
No.
I could explain just a little bit about it before you open the public hearing if
Okay,
you want.
all right, so we are not going to open the hearing yet in a couple of minutes, but Eileen is going to explain what it is about. Eileen?
Yes. The public hearing request tonight is for an amendment to the general implementation plan for the Airport Road Business Park. I wrote the public hearing notice, and I apologize if it was confusing. The Airport Road Business Park original general implementation plan, which governs the whole park, basically states about 6 permitted uses. And the first permitted use is all permitted manufacturing, sales, processing, office, I think there's one more use that are permitted uses within the industrial district. There's also agricultural and nursery, and there's a couple others, but those are all the permitted uses. So basically it has an industrial background. What it doesn't have is the conditional uses are more like daycare, support type services, recreational uses. And there was a Abra auto body that was brought to the Plan Commission in November with the idea of could it locate on Forsythia, between Forsythia and Airport Road. In order to do that, it would require a change. Auto bodies are a conditional use in the industrial district, so it was thought, well, let's look at adding some of the conditional uses from the industrial district to the GIP. But rather than try to do it for just one lot, I think the Plan Commission felt we should look at the whole thing. Not that they would necessarily approve the entire thing, but at least look at it on a broader basis. So my recommendation tonight for the Plan Commission is to hold the hearing. We have gotten about 6 or 7 emails or letters that they have copies of, and one that they hadn't received, plus people that want to talk. My recommendation is to hold the hearing and then defer any action on any proposed GIP change until the next meeting, which would be February 13th, 3 weeks from tonight. But I wanted to explain that because I'm not sure I put that in the public hearing notice. Sometimes I should probably take a step back and think, okay, you know, if somebody's looking at this and doesn't quite remember what the zoning was, probably should have explained more, but they're always so legal that I wanted to, you know, add that extra explanation.
And also, this could be just limited to that parcel.
And
It doesn't have to be.
It absolutely could be just limited to one parcel too. They could have applied for that, but again, in order to notify everybody that is in the park, I think that's what the Plan Commission was thinking, so that everybody understands that there's at least a change being considered. And it's absolutely okay if the Plan Commission wanted to make a recommendation to the council at a future date for a change for just one lot. So,
Okay, this is past 7:05, so I'm going to open the public hearing for the request for general implementation plan modification for Airport Business Park. So I have some people who want to speak, and I'm going to call their names, so you have identify yourself, and you have 3 minutes. So do they need to come there, right? Or
yeah,
okay.
they need to speak into the microphone.
So the first one is Jeannie Whitish. She wants to speak in support of it.
Don't want to get too close to this thing. Thank you. Jean Whitish, 3213 Laura Lane, Middleton is my office. My home address is 8014 West Hill Point Road, Cross Plains. I have been a part of this project literally from day one. Probably the only person that predates me is Lee Bruce himself, from when the city would have approached him, because it was before he and I partnered up. Initially was project manager for the Bruce Company when they originally owned the land. They were the original declarant for the original plat. And now as LB Land Investments, which is comprised of Lee Bruce and myself. So we also have other properties in the business park. We are one of the closest neighbors to this property. We have a substantial investment immediately across the street, with 2 buildings that house Promega, Biointuitive Sciences, Spectrum, Monsanto, to name a few, and a few more to come. So that's just one of the investments. Just down the road, we have the building where Burn Fitness is, Infinity Martial Arts, Beacon Athletics, and EPAC. We also own the Middleton Gymnastics building that fronts on Airport Road, just up the way from where this lot is. Additionally, we have about 28 acres that are vacant, that are still remaining to be developed in the park. So we have a very strong vested interest in what is sitting in that business park and what's approved in it. So from a standpoint of, I think a lot of the discussion that came out was surrounding the confusion. I don't think a lot of people realize that GIP was written in 1993. So I don't know if people realized that it already was industrial zoning. I think that's what a lot of people objected to. We have no issue if the limitation were put just on this lot for the specific use and put through the whole process of all the site plan approval and architectural review that goes on through this body and other parts of the city. So we're not out to be bad neighbors and make it difficult for others or decrease land values or anything else, God forbid, because we've got a lot of it out there. Beyond that, what I did is I wrote just a short history of sort of these steps that went through, and I referenced the GIP where it lines up with the Northwest Quadrant Plan at the time that the city did the planning work, all the way through. And there have been some changes that have occurred along the way. Look at Harvard Square. What ended up getting built there, that wasn't going to be a car dealership. So there's several changes that have occurred along the way. Hard to believe it's been 20 years. But the park's been very, very successful. TID 3, big contributor to TID 3. And we're overall pretty proud of the outcome. So I'm obviously in favor, but again, we're here willing to try to work towards a suitable end for everybody else too.
Thank you, Jean. So the next one is David Olive. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Dr. David Olive. I'm president of Wisconsin Fertility Institute. We're at 3146 Deming Way in the business park. And I'm here to oppose the proposal. The primary reason being that when we moved into the park 11 years ago, we had a shell of a space that we developed into a multi-million-dollar office building for physicians. Currently, we have a state-of-the-art fertility center there, and we are known throughout the state. We have a great reputation, and part of that reputation hinges upon the professionalism that we exude from our center. We believe that by changing the zoning of this particular area, that could in fact change the way that we are viewed as the Wisconsin Fertility Institute. Just to give you an example, I'm currently retired from seeing patients right now, although I run the center, and every morning I get up and I wear my bathrobe and my pajamas, and my big decision is whether or not I put on any shoes to go out and get my mail. If I had dressed like that to come to the meeting tonight, I think you'd think I was probably less professional and take me less seriously. The same, I think, is the case for our office. If, in fact, we have people passing waste disposal units on the way into seeing us, passing adult entertainment centers, I think that would be detrimental to how we are viewed as a fertility center and as professionals. And so, for that reason, I'd like to speak against the proposal. Thank you.
So, David, if I could ask you a question. So,
Yeah.
but if it was only that particular parcel in that corner, would you be opposed to that one as well? Or?
I wouldn't be opposed to it for just that particular parcel, but if it was anything more widespread, I would be.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So the next one is Robert Mayer.
My name's Robert Maher. I'm the owner of the business and the building at 3129 Deming Way. I'm also here to oppose the motion. In the same line with Dr. Olive, to some extent, I'm strongly opposed to adding the conditional zoning to the entire parcel. However, myself, actually, can I add, you said the individual lot, which is it the corner of Forsythia and Deming?
8026, so it's east of Dibdall's Kitchen,
Okay. Not the corner.
not the corner.
Yeah, I haven't seen the layout of the space or what's going on, but just overhearing some conversation when I came in, I heard there'd be a fair amount of fencing or screening, which wouldn't generally fit in with the business park currently. I am still opposed to the individual lot usage, but not as strongly as the entirety of the business park. There are a number of businesses there, the Wisconsin Fertility Institute or mine myself, that we really have to concern ourselves with how we're presented. I mean, we moved from a more industrial park in Fitchburg to where we are currently, and it has drastically changed the quality of employee we've gotten, our relationships with our vendors. Being able to present ourselves professionally in that space is very important to us. I don't know, when referencing the 28 acres available, I mean, that business park has been developing for 20 years. It doesn't seem like that much space. I feel like it would be naturally taken up in the next few years or along the same pace as it has been filling up currently. I don't really see an exigence here or a particular need to add different classes of business to that business park.
Okay, thank you so much. So the next one is Tim Carey.
Hey, I'm Tim Carey, 7475 Hubbard is my business address. I have a building at the corner of Deming and Forsythia. 3119 Deming is the address, the ACS manufacturing facility. I'm also here to represent Bob Bletner. Bob is the owner of 25 or so acres that remain in the park. I sent a couple of emails in, and candidly, I was confused relative to what the request was, so I want to clarify my position if I could. I am opposed to a broad brush change to add the special condition within the industrial. I don't think it's consistent with what the city and the developers of that park have created over the last several years, and I think it should be looked at on a case-by-case basis, not a broad brush approach. Relative to the specific Abra site, candidly, as a real estate professional, I don't think it's a great use on Airport Road. The city has done a really nice job creating what I think is a nice corridor. I have seen the architectural renderings, and I think they're quite nice. My concern would be what's beyond the architecture of the building relative to the yard. So my point and my position would be, I'm not opposed to the Abra site. I candidly don't think it's the best use for that site, but I'm not here to oppose it. I am here to say, though, that I'm hopeful that the council and the Plan Commission will do a really good job scrubbing those plans to make sure it's as aesthetically pleasing to both Airport Road and to Forsythia. It's got two front yards, and that's going to take some extra dollars for architecture and some special thought to go into what you can do to make it look really nice from both sides of the street, because everything else from both sides of those streets look very nice. So I'm not here to oppose it. I do hope, though, that the architecture, the screening, the green space can all be taken into consideration relative to what is already out in the Middleton Corporate Center when that comes before the Plan Commission. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Those are a lot of good ideas, Tim, so really appreciate that. So the next one doesn't want to speak is Darlene Bowler. And then you want to read the people who send the emails?
Sure. And like I said, the Plan Commission have the copy. Some of these were on the website already, and I don't know if anybody tried to access it today. We were having some issues, and I apologize for that if you tried to access this and couldn't. By about 4:30 it was working. We received one from Bob Bletner. Tim Carey, he already mentioned that. Bob Maher mentioned that as well. And then also Jeff Hain, and those are the four that were in the packet. Then tonight I distributed one from Jan Thompson.
Is Jan here? No. Okay.
And the Primrose School, and
Yep.
then from Larry Brady. And then we also had one from Darlene, which I didn't have a chance to copy, so I apologize for that.
Is anybody from Primrose School here? So would you be, let's say if it was related to just only one unit, Would you be still opposed to it?
We would be satisfied with the address site, not the park as a whole.
Okay, okay.
And I should probably point out also that if the Plan Commission makes a recommendation on February 13th, it would go to the council on February 20th. If a change was made for the recommendation for the one lot, then the applicant, the auto body, has to apply for a conditional use permit, and that's when they would have to submit all of their plans and the four-sided architecture and all of that. So it's a multi-step process. This is just the first one, but again, the staff recommendation is for holding this and appreciate all the input and then deferring it until the February 13th meeting.
Anybody else who wants to speak, either in opposition or favor or anything else which you want to say? Anybody else who wants to speak? Okay, if there are no more speakers, I'm going to close the public hearing part of this meeting. And then we're going to go to the item 3, request for a general implementation plan modification, Airport Road Business Park. So I need a motion to defer. I think that's the best thing to do.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, so the motion is to defer this, and all those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So please provide your input. Yes,
Is this deferred until the next meeting?
Yes,
yes,
February
yes.
13th. And if,
Specifically have that in motions.
yeah, and
Yes.
if you all wanted to sign up, also if you're not already, for Notify Me, you can you can go to the city's website, click on Notify Me, put your email in, and sign up for any committee meetings that you'd like to receive notice of. This one is the Plan Commission. You can sign up for up to 80 different committees. But if you sign up to receive the emails for the Plan Commission, every time we put out an agenda or the minutes of a meeting, you'll get an email notification that that's available on our website. And it's kind of a good way to stay on top of it. And like the mayor said, if you want to provide any additional input prior to the February 13th meeting, if we had it the week before, we could include it in the packet, like a week, like by February 6th. And we're happy to do that.
And you can also share with your friends, neighbors, other business people, whoever wants to provide the input. More input we have, the better decision we will be able to make. So that would be really appreciated, so. All right. So the next item on the agenda is the concept review for the replacement of garages at Springtree Apartments on Amherst Road, and that's Mark.
Yes. The proposal is to replace the existing detached garage structures that are located on the property. One's on the eastern end, right next to Heritage, and the other one is on the west end towards Amherst Road. The developer, the applicant is wanting to replace the structures with basically the same footprint, slightly larger to reflect current building codes. And the roof would go from a gable, well, they'll have gable roofs instead of the shed roof that they currently have. This is also going to be on the Zoning Board of Appeals agenda this coming Thursday, because to rebuild the structures in their current locations, they need, they're currently legal non-conforming uses, and rebuilding would require bringing them into compliance with setback regulations unless there's a zoning variance granted. So the staff recommendation is to recommend design approval contingent on the Zoning Board of Appeals granting the necessary variances to minimum side setback regulations.
Make that motion.
Okay,
Second.
any discussion? I think it will improve that facility. Yes, David?
Are these drawings that we've got adequate to make a decision on? As to what
I
these
think-
things look like?
Yeah, we had talked about having it be concept tonight and have it go to the zoning board, and then
Oh.
once they got a variance, come back for final design. That's
Okay.
what we had
That's-
kind of talked about, I hadn't,
Okay.
but I don't know, Mark, how you feel about
I,
that, that's what we
I
were talking
was
about.
comfortable with it because it was, and I see now the title says concept review. I was comfortable with it because I've talked to the applicant enough to know that he's basically rebuilding what's there in the same mass. But if you would rather just go, Eileen is correct, we did talk about that, and if that's your approach that you'd like to go, that's perfectly fine with me. I don't think they were planning to get going here until spring, right?
This
Is the
wouldn't
applicant
be
here?
accepted by Public Works, would it?
Public Works doesn't.
I mean, for
The building approval, yeah.
I'm not sure what the building.
The applicant's here and maybe can address,
Do you want to address? So come, you can come to the
Yeah, yeah.
microphone. please. Identify yourself. And
I'm Tom Lamberson. I'm with American Garage Builders. We would be the contractor for this project. The preliminary drawings are merely to show that the buildings will be pretty much the same, just a little bit longer, and in the same footprint. So we would obviously provide architectural drawings, engineering drawings that would be required for the zoning permit at the time of the permit application.
And we would see those?
if you'd like to, it's fine. Normally you would have more detail, but I just felt that this was pretty straightforward, so I was trying to save a step. But if you'd like to see them, that's perfectly
I think
fine.
we should.
Okay.
We have documentation.
Well, we would have the documentation, but it's just, I was trying to, since we're, I was just trying to save a step, so.
So it doesn't really cause you any hardship if there's some delay until you have all the details, right?
No, we wouldn't even be starting the project till probably at the earliest mid-April, the 1st of May. So we can provide those drawings. Our main concern was that there's obviously some costs involved in the engineering and architectural drawings. So we, rather than try and pass that cost on to the customer, we were hoping to at least get an idea of the chance of approval before we went into those expenses.
I think it's good that the zoning board of appeals would
Right.
know that the plan commission conceptually approved it too, that would be,
So
or a
Dennis-
motion of no objection, I'm not sure which.
how do you feel, Dennis? Everybody seems okay with that?
My modified,
To me.
Pardon me?
concept of approval would be my modified staff recommendation.
Okay. Okay, so that's the motion then, right? Okay, any further discussion then? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any, okay, then the motion is for the concept approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So, all right, so we are set.
Good job George isn't here, then he can't accuse me of being concerned about aesthetics.
Okay, item number 5. Replat of lots 4 and 5 in Himes Woods. Preliminary plat and specific implementation plan. Gateway Residential Development. Aline.
I
Oh.
think Mark reviewed it.
Mark.
Yep.
All right. Wow.
Yeah, he's got a lot of them tonight.
So this, you'll recall this was before you last fall. There was a public hearing, and the Plan Commission decided to recommend, and the council approved 6 lots instead of 7. So that's now what the specific implementation plan is following up with, and also the preliminary plat. So in your packet you'll see the preliminary plat. Our engineering staff have reviewed it, and there's been a couple iterations of it. There aren't really any significant outstanding issues, and so we're recommending approval of the preliminary plat. Regarding the SIP, we have, it shows the site plan with building envelopes and setbacks, the front elevation for the 2 building types, and floor plans. We did get a couple citizens providing some suggestions, and I have passed those on to Tom. I haven't heard back about how he feels about them, but the suggestions were to flip the houses so that the garages alternate, and so in other words, the driveways could be together. For example, if one were flipped, then the driveways would be, if 2 were flipped, then the garage would be next to the other garage. The driveways would be side by side, creating a opportunity for parking between lots 2 and 3, for example, on-street parking. Also, they suggested having altered or variety of building colors and materials. Those were the 2 neighbor suggestions, which I think make a lot of sense. But obviously, that's something that the Plan Commission can weigh in on. Otherwise, I don't have any other staff comments.
Okay,
Oh, I was gonna, sorry, one more. The lots 5 and 6 would be, that Tom is planning to sell those for development
okay.
by others, and that would be reviewed separately by the Plan Commission.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Two questions. One is, when we first saw this proposal, I don't think we thought those lots were being sold off. I don't know that it makes a lot of difference.
I don't think
but
it makes
wanted-
any difference. It's part of the SIP still.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the process for approval of those is as
Because we don't.
part of this.
They would have to meet the SIP requirements.
Right.
Yeah. And so, and then they would just get, they wouldn't come back, don't think they would come back to the plan commission.
They could if you want. I just,
SIP requirements, right? I mean,
I was surprised to read that he wasn't going to build all 6 houses.
the reason why I was suggesting that it comes back to the Plan Commission is because we're being shown 2 types of building elevations, and and that's, we don't want to necessarily, my understanding, and I won't speak for Tom, but if you want to address it, my understanding is the intent for selling them is so that others could pursue a different house design. So we don't know what that design is. You could say if it adheres to all the SIP requirements, then you don't need to see it again. That's fine with me, but that's why I was suggesting it come back here.
Yes, Tom.
Well, I think what happened is when we went from 7 to 6, we had 3 lots on Gateway, and we went to 2, which I consider those to be fairly premium lots, which is more of a custom design, and I just probably is out of my comfort level for building that type of home at this point of my career. So, whatever happens there will be under my kind of architectural review, and, I know the person that's interested has already met with Mark, so he understands he has to meet, that it's a SIP, GIP, that he'll have to meet all the requirements, so. But I don't think he would have a problem bringing it back if you needed to take a quick look at it too, so. The other thing, if I could just maybe address the flipping of the homes, it just does not work. My engineer has submitted a grading plan and a site utility plan, and one of the items here is with the existing sewer. Most sewers run out to the street. In this case, we're running to the back of the property through the backyards, and he's also, on the plan is itemized like Lot 2 has 5 steps in the garage, Lot 1 has 5 steps in the garage. So the inverts and sewer manholes, things like that, when we take our sewer lateral, the minimum state code is 1%. We're barely meeting that 1% right now, so instead of your typical sewer lateral is 4-inch, we're going to go to a 6-inch to make that work. But we always have to put our garages up on the high side, and that creates more steps into the house. If we flipped them, we might end up with, instead of 5 steps, 12 steps or something from the garage. You're just fighting the grade at that point. And it's mostly because we have to get the water to flow to the back, to the sewer there. So that just wouldn't work. I brought some color samples for the home I'm proposing on Lot 1. I think the concern before at the public hearing was more that they were going to be like the Amherst homes, and I don't see that either. I was going to plan on doing a composite engineered wood product for siding and not a vinyl siding, which is a different look. And as part of me overseeing the architectural review, for all the homes will have different colors. They would not be similar colors. And I wouldn't be against the saying that, you're on 2 different streets. If one of the homeowners liked one of the homes on Charing Cross and they were on Gateway, I wouldn't see that as a huge deal. But as a small enough project, I think the colors can always be different.
I think the Amherst homes are fabulous.
Yeah,
I think they look great.
Great, so. For that price point, and it was a vinyl siding, but it worked.
Yeah, they look good.
We were able to change a gable roof to a hip roof, and there's a lot of little things that we can do architecturally to make a different look, even though it's the same plan.
Any questions to Tom? Yes, go ahead.
One of the objectives of switching to lots 5 and 6 was that the buildings are essentially parallel to the street, right? The front of the building is essentially
Well, I
parallel.
think that was the thought. We wanted to-
Okay. Is that part of the SIP somehow? Or,
It's not currently, but it could be, there could be language added saying that that's the intent, that the facades are parallel. Typically, houses are built that way, but
Yeah.
not always.
Well, when you
you
make,
said you're in negotiation already with,
Yeah, I've got a party that actually wants Lot 5, and we're showing a driveway off of Shrine Cross. He's talking about a driveway off of Gateway. So that might be something I've asked him to come talk to Mark and, see what the thoughts are, I guess.
And from a staff standpoint, engineering staff actually would support the driveway off of Gateway, actually would prefer it.
yeah, it'd be a lot smaller.
So, uses the lot better, provides a backyard.
any more questions for Tom? Okay, so, thank you. So, somebody, what do you want to make a motion here now? So approve with some,
I would move that the council approve the preliminary plat and the SIP with the contingencies listed by staff in their comments.
okay, need it? Okay, any, David, you have a question?
Can we add that it's brought back to this committee?
That's what it is.
It says
The
that.
second bullet
Approval
point.
building lot for lots 5 and 6, is that what you meant?
Yes, sorry, yeah. Okay, I beg your pardon, yes,
Only for lots 5 and 6, okay.
right.
Any further discussion?
I feel a little differently about that. I think that some people might feel that's kind of restrictive, and I think that the homes that Tom's explained to us, and David, you too said that they were nice lots. People aren't going to put a trashy thing there. And if they don't match up with what Tom is doing, maybe all the better, because that was the point that was made about the whole neighborhood having a variety of different sizes and setbacks and so much. So, to me, there's no need for uniformity, and as long as it fits within those, the setbacks, it so much better.
We got sketches of
you
the
know,
other
I hate
houses,
to-
though. We got sketches of these houses. Of his
Yes,
house-
but those are
his
the
house.
ones that Tom's gonna build.
Right.
Yeah.
5 and 6.
I know, so why wouldn't we, if we got them for these, and it's part of the PDD as well, why wouldn't we want to see the other ones as well?
I don't know, did we ask to see them?
We just did with the motion.
Well, no. Did we ask to see what Tom showed us? I don't know, recall us ever asking to see those. I mean, I think it's nice that he did, and they look pretty nice. I wouldn't like the 5 steps, but,
Well,
but
Well, if Tom is happy to bring them,
I hate to-
I don't know how much hassle it is for
I
him,
don't
so.
want to say too much government, but I think maybe,
It would be the other person that will be bringing them before you, but I can bring them too, so, I can, I would concur with what he's saying, they're gonna be fairly expensive homes, and there's a true thought that, my style might be this, their style might be.
You want to come to the mic if you don't mind?
I can almost guarantee you there'll be custom contracts, and that the homeowners will have a lot of say into the style and the design of the home. And, there'll be a fairly high quality or fairly expensive home to start with. So there'll be some, definitely some unique architecture, but I wouldn't be concerned about it at all, as long as they met the setbacks and side lots and things like that. I think, the person that's interested is knowledgeable that he'll conform with everything that he needs to be conforming with.
Okay. David, you have any further questions?
Not a question. I don't understand why one wouldn't want to bring it back to here.
Okay, all right, so, should be all right, so not a big deal, right? So the motion is,
And it's included in the motion.
okay, okay, that is included in the motion. So all those in favor of the motion to approve this SIP, including the staff comments, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Tom. All right, now we are on to concept review for Goodwill Industries, 6280 Century Avenue.
These are Abby's.
Abby!
Yes, and I see that the developer, Don Casper, is here to talk about the project. Our staff's really excited about the reuse of this building that has been vacant for more than 10 years. This is a permitted use in the B2 zoning district. The parking standards are being exceeded by the plan, so we have no concerns from that standpoint. We will need to see a landscaping plan. Right now, this is just before you for concept review. And one of the things that the developer has talked about is an interest in working with the city to improve the conservancy land that's just west and adjacent to this property. So we're asking that it be referred to Conservancy Lands Commission. We're really excited about the incorporation of sustainability features within the building, like solar, geothermal, and they're also interested in applying for LEED certification. If they were able to obtain LEED certification, this would be the first LEED certified building in the city of Middleton, at least that I'm aware of. I don't know if there are any others. I tried to look up the database. I didn't find any others. So the developer is requesting TIF to support the extraordinary development costs, which can be discussed in the next agenda item. One more thing to note, Don has agreed to provide the city with a 6-foot wide bike path easement along the southern lot line across this parcel in order to accommodate the city's plans for the Northeast Connector bicycle path.
Wow, everything looks great, doesn't it? Okay, all right. You want to make a motion or discussion, or however you guys want to start? So,
I'll make a motion for concept approval and referral to the CLC to consider
Second.
for opportunities to work with the
I would
Conservancy
like
lands.
to make one thing. Thank you,
Go ahead.
Abby, for
Yep.
the great,
okay, so this is, well, you will have time to speak. Now, Abby, do you want it to go sustainability as well? Or
I don't think we've referred any of the other sustainability TIF requests to the committee, but
Okay,
it.
okay, that's fine, that's
if you
fine.
wanted it.
So just CLC, anything, okay, need a second.
I already
Oh, you
said
already seconded, it. All right. Okay, Don, go ahead.
I'm Dawn Casper. I'm the owner of the parcel. I'm very excited. It's been kind of a long haul, getting kind of that great match for phase 3 of our 3-phase redevelopment of that parcel. One of the things that I just wanted to amend what Abby said is when I looked through your summary, we are very interested in working with the city on improving how it looks on both the west but also the north side of the parcel. Is that a problem?
No, that should make everybody happy. I don't think there should be any problem, so.
There's quite a bit of grade drop-off on the north side, and we see an opportunity to possibly improve the way that looks by possibly doing a tiered landscape approach there. But we would need to work with the city on that because we don't have enough land to actually create the 2 or 3 tier approach to our parking lot. But that's one thing that we would be really excited about working with, and I think that the people of the Conservancy would like a more gradual view of moving from the Conservancy to the conversion. So that was just the one little thing that I noticed when I saw the write-up.
Well, this is a concept, so I guess a lot of details will come as we go further along, so.
Well,
Yeah.
right, and unfortunately, this isn't gonna make it on the CLC agenda for this month. So next month, it would go before CLC, and I'm not entirely sure what their meeting schedule is. Susan might know.
They're gonna talk
Not yet,
about it
okay.
tomorrow, I think.
So
Well,
you will talk
have a
about
topic
tomorrow,
for your
Susan?
February agenda.
We meet tomorrow, but it didn't make the agenda.
No, but your next meeting date made the agenda.
February.
One of the items on the agenda is discussion of meeting dates.
So then you'll determine.
All right, so a lot of opportunities there, so.
And Jerry, our architect, is here if you have any questions about
I would love to have you explain to us what you're going to do to that building. I'm just fascinated by this concept of this, so
Yes.
I look at the drawing and I can see, but I'd just love to have you explain.
Okay, maybe Jerry will do that. So Don looks at the overall concept, so. But you can see we're all excited that something is happening and happening something really good in that corner there, so. Yes, Jerry?
Here, I'll get you the mic so you can. Wanna go to the elevations or?
Actually, maybe just back to the cover sheet to start with.
Oh, okay.
So I think you all know the site, but I think,
I don't think it's on.
yeah, what we've been trying to accomplish is, this is the old grocery store here. We've already developed these two sites, so we're trying to tie these all together, so basically it's gonna be one development right there at the same time. And the grocery store, when it originally was done, this was a big parking lot, so the grocery store faced to the side, it didn't face out toward the front. And one of the things we want to do is create a building that's fronting out toward the street at that same time, like the other buildings are, we're doing there. The other one, the loading dock is on this side, which you can kind of see from the street. We want to get that tucked around to the back, and that kind of hides a little more grade changes at the same time. So we're trying to clean up the whole site and actually tie all these together. And one thing Don was very much adamant about is, like, I want to reuse the building. You know, it might actually be less expensive for us to tear the whole thing down and start from the ground, but it's like a building left the other way. So we wanted to work around the building that we have. So if you go ahead and keep your site plan. So if you see this dashed line out here, that's the outline of the existing building. So what we're doing is we're cutting off the front face of the building so we can bring the parking lot across to the front and tie that in, and bring the bike path across to the front that same side. This is that loading dock, so we're going to take that off on the back side. We'll cut a new loading dock on the back side through here. Our building did go out to here, and we're going to take off a good portion of the roof here, but keep that for the drive-through. So that'll be the drop-off area then. We open our lease, we're still getting a little further away from the bank itself. So we're working within the footprint of the building. We're doing a lot of major things we want to do to actually increase that front door image to the site itself and hide toward the back, loading docks and those type of facilities. And as Don mentioned, you know, one of the things I think we can do quite well is actually work with the Conservancy and actually kind of clean up that whole landscape area in the back and then kind of make that very inviting. So I know you're going to bring the bike trail through here and kind of wrap that around also, so I think it's a good opportunity. Go through some of the engineering stuff. So
this one?
Yeah, so the overall floor plan is kind of the front door at this location. This is the big sales floor. I think most of you probably have been to like a Goodwill retail or center. And then on this side would be where you come in the drop off, they would come into this area, they'd do the sorting, offices back to here, and then direct access into the back area here, where they can put those into the trucks that goes off to another facility elsewhere and screen that toward the back. So we're getting our front door toward the center here, and that kind of works on the whole main sales floor. We're putting a lot more windows in here since that's open, and actually even toward the back area, we'll bring some more windows back and then bring more natural light into the building too. So this would be the elevation, and the bottom is the one looking actually out toward the street. Next door on the bank facility, we already got those stone columns on there, so we're trying to pick up some of those elements and carry those on through in what we're doing in this building. So we're picking up that stone piers through here, masonry in these areas all across the front. Putting in new windows makes natural light into the store and off to the creek. You know, nice street front for us at the same time. Little awnings through here. The blue color, and this is actually more of an orange color in the final drawings, the way it prints. Those are tied into actually what the colors are of Goodwill and company, so we're trying to go back into the main colors. And then if you look around toward the side here, this would be the covered area then for the drop-off where the cars come through on that side. Still bringing the stone and mixing around on those sides, so we've got good materials on all four sides. That'll get us out of the weather at that point. But still, we don't want to create an area where people are going to want to drop stuff off or become a hazard or whatever, so it's still very clear. So I think we've got a great opportunity to kind of clean up this whole area. You know, then we've been doing many things with Don then too. We mentioned the lead part or the whole green, so we're looking for most of the roof actually to have like a solar panel potential on that, and they're relatively low. They only stick up like maybe less than a foot on that, so they'll be hidden up in that area. And there's a good opportunity for our mechanical system to use a geothermal system with the water in that area to get actually a more efficient, more environmental actually system for the heating itself. We're also using on the parking stalls wrapped around the outside of the site. We're using actually a pervious pavement on that, so we're cutting off some of our runoff all at the same time. We're trying to reduce that on the site and creating more of a little softer edge on that to create a better project. So I think we finally got the great tenant in here. We can kind of get that whole lot done at that point, get them all tied together and be a nice facility for the city.
I think it's very positive development, and I think, and Don is not asking for any tip for the building at all. It's the sustainability features which will be good for, which are all good things which he's doing there. And as like Abby said, this will be the, if they did decide to go for LEED, this will be the first building in Middleton, so. And there are so many other things which he's doing there very good, and also Mark's bike path there, so, and working with Conservancy to clean it up there. I think it's a win-win situation, so. Any questions, guys, before, or did we already make a motion, or?
Yes.
Okay, yes, Dennis.
I'm just curious as to what the color is of the store, because the two sketches of the front have two different colors of brick.
The color of the front?
Brick, yeah, the brick.
Probably actually more of
I'm hoping you like A4 better.
Yeah.
Actually, I think they're supposed to both be the same.
Yeah, basically we're going, when I originally sold the parcel to CVS.
Ma'am, could you come to the mic, please?
Oh, sorry. When I originally sold that parcel to the CVS, which was phase 2 of my development, I first got Anchor Bank off the corner and moved it to the middle. I actually imposed on them that they had to clean up the way their CVS building looked. And we got nice looking brick face and on that. So we will try and tie all that in. It's going to be natural colors. One thing that Goodwill has requested is that we do maintain their use of blue and kind of a burnt orange for their signage, so that ties into their logo. But the actual brick face and any ephes that we would use would be more of those natural earthy colors.
You know, earth colors are, there are a lot of earth colors. I'm just curious because the A4 shows a warm color and A3 has a cooler color.
It's just the printer, Dennis, so I guess, I'm sure they're going to.
I don't think the same printer.
Oh, okay.
Two different things out on.
Yes, Jerry. Jerry will explain now, so.
It is actually.
Yeah, that's Jerry's job, so to make sure that it's all.
The A4 coming out of, this color pattern out of this one, so the one we got in A4 is actually probably closer to the truth. That's got more orange on there, more orangish and more.
Yeah, that's what, yeah, that's the one you're.
And that's the one that we're going to be.
Good.
We're all done, yeah.
Good.
Did you like that, Dennis?
Yes. The other thing I was going to say is I'm actually thrilled because I have on numerous times, well, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, suggested using pervious asphalt in parking lots, and you are the first people that have actually come forth with the idea. And with all the drainage and stuff underneath it, it's marvelous.
We're looking for more creative ways to be as green as possible on this project.
Don't overwhelm us, our hearts are.
Environmentalist, it's first birthday, and I really think that the time is right now to actually show a building that can be done the way buildings should be made in the future.
Well, thank you for trying.
No, we are very pleased. I mean, people, when I was going around the city, people were asking, what's happening to that building there? And so I asked Abby and Eileen, let's get together with you, and I guess I'm really happy that things are moving forward, so. Any more questions? Yes, David?
Two things. I find, I'm very excited about it. I mean, I think we're all agreeing on that. The thing I find a little clumsy, is that the right word? I don't know. is the donations drive-through bit, and I wonder whether you'd consider an add-on building rather than wrapping it all in the same elevation. You know what I mean? Sort of.
Go a little further with that, if you can.
Sorry?
Explain that a little further.
Yeah.
Do you want to look at the floor plan?
No, this is all right. This I think is fine, and it wraps around the building, right? Sorry. It wraps around the building. this little bit here, I'm saying, I wonder if that should be more of an add-on to the main building, rather than wrapping the, this same detail all the way around.
Okay, I'm with you now.
Yes?
Yeah.
So
we changed,
it's a
yeah.
building with a add-on piece, additive piece to it, rather than making it all the
Realize
same.
they're set back.
It's set back,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, that I think reinforces what I'm saying, right? Because now it goes on to the, and it doesn't go all the way to the back way, to the right.
Right.
Either,
But it's
right?
kind of like the detail in how
Yeah.
we're handling this to
Right,
get
yeah.
it separate out.
Yeah. That was that. The other one, I'll retreat to my appointed seat. What did I do?
You just unplugged the computer,
It's
you're
okay.
fine.
Well, as long as we are safe, David,
just
that's all
fine.
what
I was
matters.
just
You
worried,
didn't do anything, so.
The other one, could we go back to, or not? No? Back
Yes,
to
we
the
can.
aerial view right at the beginning?
This one?
Yeah. Can you tell me how many cars there are in the CVS and the National Bank in the parking lot? On that drawing, how many cars are there?
On the aerial photo?
Yeah, on the aerial photograph. I've been
Very
driving.
few.
I've been driving past this site every day for 8 years when I first came here, and I have never seen, I don't think, more than 10, perhaps 15 cars in the site, and I'm wondering why we need so much parking on the new site, right? I'm saying, I wonder if we couldn't cut it back some, the parking. And I don't know, I hadn't realized that it was all one developer.
Well, some of it's being driven by the tenant.
A lot of it's being driven by the tenant. They have Goodwill stores all around South Central Wisconsin.
Right.
They know what they need during their peak periods, and it's very important to them that they have this parking ratio. And we are still going to be able to create the green space that we need to make it look good.
Okay.
And that's, basically, it's the tenant that's driving the parking
Okay.
ratio right now.
Given that you are the developer of the whole site, right, is it not conceivable that some of the, 5 of the spaces in front of the bank could become parking spaces for the Goodwill? I'm trying to cut down the amount of parking that you have to
Okay.
build, right?
That is not what Goodwill wants. Goodwill wants the parking accessible out front for their customers. A lot of their customers expect to be able to walk in the front door.
Okay. You've got
Add something, Jerry?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 18 parking spaces. I'm sorry, 36 parking spaces at the front door.
Yeah, actually, here, below the recommendation was, we pulled it down. Part of this, we do have shared access drives, cross-access easements, so there will be
Right.
access
Right.
back
Yeah.
and forth within the site itself. I think if that became a possibility, some of the things that we're doing, like back through here, which kind of toward the rear or whatever, there would probably be more of those that we actually probably try and work with, because that kind of opens up the conservancy toward the back. We'll take a look at it, but I think we'll have cross-access easements back and forth,
Yes.
but the big thing was, our customer base was ever to have enough near their front door when people are coming there, that they can actually get in and get into the facility and back out.
Well, they want a lot of customers, so I guess to succeed, so. And people want parking close to the building, so.
And one of the things that Goodwill mentioned is they do have that drop-off area, but a lot of people drop off and then swing around and then come back in
Yeah.
and shop, even though they just dropped something off. So they've got, on their peak times, they do have a lot of people moving in and out.
Okay.
I have a curiosity question. Once those other 2 businesses are built, CVS and the bank, and have parking allocated to them, I think you said you sold the parcel to CVS. can that parking be rearranged once it's been allocated?
Only if they were willing.
If they were
do
willing
that,
to do
right.
it.
And I think, as landlord to CVS, if her lease allowed that, they could, but
Okay.
otherwise, I mean, not CVS, the bank, sorry.
Right.
CVS owns theirs outright,
Well, I own the bank too, so.
yeah.
But you want to keep bank happy if they need that parking, yeah, that's right, so. So any more questions or comments or suggestions or ideas? Yes, Dennis?
I just have a comment, and I
Yes.
hope that I'm correct, but I think our meeting could go faster if we realized that none of the mics are on.
Oh, could go faster if,
They're not, go stand in one of those speakers once and see if they're, in my mic is not on.
Yeah, it's on through the system. I can't control it.
I think there's a switch under the counter.
Wouldn't I get a little?
hello?
Well, it's going into her ears, Dennis.
Yeah, that's what, and that's
I
what
could
we
actually
have
hear
it.
the sound coming from like her headphones.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I agree with you that the speakers out here are not working.
None of these are, yes.
But at least for our TV viewing audience, they will get a recording.
And hopefully people in the audience
Okay.
can hear, but as far as I can tell, and I.
Yeah, maybe,
Probably
Dennis, we can all speak a little bit louder perhaps, right?
Well, I don't care, I just think it's
Can I
kind of
just make
funny.
one comment about the project?
Yes, yes.
I was really excited to see this. I know this building, I go by there a lot because I live near there too, and that building's been empty for a long time, and I think this is just a great use of it. I'm excited that you're using the building and adapting it and all of that, and good for you, I say. This is great.
Lot of
Intention for a
Yeah.
very long time.
lot of excitement here, so any other, okay, I'm gonna call the motion now, I'm gonna call the question, all those in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose? All right, the motion passes unanimously. How about this? Okay, so the next one is now the concept review for tax incremental financing, District Number 5, assistance for Goodwill Industries, 6280 Century Avenue.
Yep, and this is a request for developer finance TIF assistance in the amount of $544,243. As Gurdeep mentioned on the previous item, none of the TIF increment here would go to support the actual building. It would all be for the purpose of supporting the renewable energy projects, as well as the application and design costs for LEED certification. We think that with the anticipated value upon completion, this would result in about a 65-35 split, with 65% of the increment being applied to support the sustainable features, and the remaining 35% supporting general projects within the TIF district. And one step that we always do with a TIF request is to review the project pro forma. We have not yet had a chance to do that with the developer, so that's one step that we need to take before this item would go to the Finance Committee and Common Council. But our recommendation tonight is for concept approval to the Finance Committee and Common Council.
All right, so do we have a motion? Okay, all right. So, questions and discussion. One thing which I really like is the percentage of increment applied to project, 65%. I think this is really nice. So, and we need to do more of that, so.
And I think, I just want to say one thing too, quick on the LEED certification. I think the fact that this building is a reuse of an existing building, a building that's been here for decades, I think that makes it even neater, and it's a very prominent, location, and I think that would be, pretty neat to have the first LEED that we're aware of, certified building, be an adaptive reuse of a building, existing building, so.
I can see everybody, yes, David?
Is, you spoke of public lands.
Yeah, CLC.
Changes on the north and the west side, right? Are they
Yes.
part of this TIF?
No,
Costs
no.
of that in this
No,
TIF?
no, it isn't.
No, okay. So
It
that
is-
would be up to Pox and,
Well, they're helping them out, so I think they're not asking for any tip for that, so.
We'll do the work as part of our project.
You'll do it as part of the project? Okay. Okay.
That's actually amazing, David. They're doing it their own.
Yeah,
No tip there. Yes, so did we get a motion? I guess we
we have
did,
motion,
so.
second.
Okay, any questions? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Well done, get on to it, so, awesome.
And this next one is Mark's.
Good job, Jerry. Okay, next is the marks item. Use of the tax incremental financing District 5 systems to construct shared use path within the access easement for 6210, 6280 Century Avenue. Mark.
At the staff level, we thought this would be, with the completion of this building as this is being constructed, that this would be a good time to also construct the bike path, the shared use path, in front of all three buildings. So we are recommending that you authorize, make a recommendation to the council to authorize $38,000 in TID 5 funding to develop that path between the western edge of the property and Allen Court.
I'll move.
One second.
Okay, discussion. So, Mark, question to you is that, would it be cheaper if we do it now versus doing it later?
Well, it's my understanding that, I think it has the potential to be cheaper because, as opposed to doing it, you mean later with as part of a larger
Along with
project?
the, everything else.
Well, this site will involve some concrete work so we thought that there could be some potential for economies of scale, some efficiencies by doing this now. Utility boxes, there's a couple utilities that have to be moved. We just thought it would be a good time to do this now, but what we could do is we could, I could talk with our engineering staff who do more of the bidding for
Okay.
concrete work. This would actually be asphalt, but I could see when it's the most cost advantageous to do it, but if we could have the authorization and be prepared to do it, that would be
Okay.
helpful.
Yeah, if we are saving money, and also you're
That's-
already starting that trail, that would be a good thing, so.
Right.
Yeah. Any questions, folks?
Does this mean that we would have impervious asphalt on both sides of that landscaping now?
We haven't determined whether the path would be pervious or not pervious.
We had a standard in the city that they were all impervious.
I don't want to speak for the public lands director, but we had built a lot of pervious asphalt, but I know we've also done some non-pervious, and I know the costs have been changing over time, so I don't want to commit
I know
him.
which ones are which, because the impervious ones are all cracked and
The pervious ones are correct?
no,
The non-pervious, impervious, yes, and that's my observation too. I think pervious has a lot of merit, but I don't, because costs have been, I just don't want to commit to that at this time.
I was just thinking because there's only one contractor and, they can do both sides at the same time.
Right.
Good thinking, Dennis.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, then the motion is to approve the TIP funding for the shared use path. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Okay, we are on to, wow, look at this now, the Trista is coming, so. We are on to general implementation plan, Trista mixed use development including Middleton Market, 7622 Lisa Lane.
The more the merrier.
Yes. Okay, so who's gonna?
Plug
you're
into
gonna-
yours or use your
Abby, this is Abby's
Okay.
corner.
Nope. You're just fine. Assuming that this connection works. You got it. So while they're getting set up, just some brief staff comments. Most of this should all be included in the memo. The reason that this is before you again for GIP recall that you already recommended approval of the GIP, but there were several contingencies. When it went to the Common Council, they felt that prior to approving the GIP, some of those contingencies needed to be removed. And so there's at least one big one that we think our staff would support removing, and that was the requirement for shared parking analysis. The developer now is proposing to meet the shared parking requirements. The biggest remaining thing to be considered from our staff standpoint is materials and architecture, and whether the Plan Commission is prepared to recommend approval of the materials and architecture as part of this rezoning to PDD GIP. So we'll turn it over to the developers to make their presentation. This one.
Okay, I'd rather stand up. Although you can't hear it out here, so it's really weird, isn't it?
Yeah, Robin will just speak louder, so.
Yeah, I can do that. That's easy enough anyway. Hi, I haven't seen you all. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Robin.
The staff asked us to kind of go through a progression of where we started with the project, what staff comments and changes we've made on the project, and then I want to drill down specifically into some new stuff that we've brought in today, including landscaping. So Paul Skidmore's here to talk about landscaping with us, what we've changed in parkings, and then building material and exterior architecture that have us changed quite a bit while working with the city staff. So that's what I'm planning to do. So just to refresh your memory, I don't think you're playing yet. There you go. Oh, you're playing up there. There you go. The other button, maybe.
I'm just excited right now because it's not our computer.
So this is the parcel we're talking about, which is the old Bowling Green softball fields again, which also would encompass the empty lot on the corner of Laura Lane and Lisa Lane, and then the building that currently hosts Purple Cow Organics, as well as the Golf Association.
Wow, the Purple Cow as well.
Yeah, Purple Cow's going to have to move somewhere else, but not for a while because we've extended the time that they can stay in the buildings, and they gave us an extension on buying the land, so it was a really nice trade. This was the original plan that we brought forth before you guys. Originally an interior courtyard building with a skating pond, and the buildings were a much different layout and design. We've since revised the second plan. This is what Vanderwall came back to us and asked us to look at as a plan. And so their concept was to put a public street in the middle. We've had a lot of discussion about whether that's a public or private road. Right now it will be built to mostly to public standards, and that's actually one issue in the staff comments that we'd like to talk about in a minute. But and we'll have also access both east and west and north and south through the development. If you go to the next slide, that will show you where we ended up. So what we ended up with is a building very similar to what Vanderwall asked us to do on the site, and we're really happy with where we ended up with on the design. I think the site itself works really, really well. I like where this has gone. We had a lot of trouble getting parking in this site, and one of the staff comments that actually one of the consultants, Jeff from Vanderwall, made was the commercial component on the Lisa Lane and Laura Lane corner really didn't have a lot of parking there. And so in a design change iteration, we changed the entrance to the parking garage and moved it up to the upper corner of the building. I looked everywhere for my laser pointer today and couldn't find it. And in doing that, allowed us to actually double load the parking behind the commercial spaces. Does that work? Oh, thanks, David. So that allows us to double load here in the parking area and actually do almost a 1-to-1 ratio of what is typically needed in that commercial environment. That commercial will also have on-street parking, and you could park in the market or along the roadway in the middle to access that retail, or I should say commercial because it's much more commercial. But we changed that. So we added parking here, and we added parking cross the road while maintaining the connections on each of the locations to make sure that there's good pedestrian pathways within the site. And then also a pedestrian pathway that goes from the site across to where Jacob's buildings are. Oak Ridge, am I getting Meadow Ridge and Oak Ridge, right? Yeah. Wrong, yeah. So that's where we've kind of come to. We're one of the questions, originally we had located the dog park kind of up in here. We felt we got a lot of comments back that was too prominent of a position for the dog park. And Paul and I were talking about where we place it, and we've been working on placing the dog park back into here, which makes a lot of sense because this entrance in the building actually dumps right into where the dog spa is, pet spa is within the facility. So you want to go to the next picture? In comparison, this shows you, Vanderwall did this one as well, that shows you kind of how the buildings line up size-wise on the site versus what else is out there currently. So this is Meadow Ridge, this is Oak Ridge, and this is the proposed Meritor size. So it gives you a comparison of, you know, how big is the scale? Is it out of context to what's on that site? The market building, which is the building here, is actually only a 2-story height building. And the end of the commercial space is also only a 2-story height building. So there is some significant step backing here as well as at the market front. What we did, in working with talking to David and actually talking to Susan West about how the building's designed, is we changed a lot of the faces to really get some differentiation on that building. So one, we created a whole new entryway here. I'll show you that in a minute. I have a better close-up of it. But we also created a secondary entry that really extrudes from the building and tries to break up and differentiate the spaces into multiple building locations. Do you want to go to the... Yeah, we also added a significant portion of stone on this face and on the front faces of the building. So here's that entry. We have better pictures of it up front. The projector doesn't reflect this terrifically well. But so there's a very defined entrance for the apartments, very strong architectural details, and then a very defined public entrance to make people aware that they can go through the building to reach the other parking, or if they're parking in the back, they can come through the building to reach the market. We also spent a lot of time creating multiple access points for the market. So access on the far end here, this will be a full-service restaurant on the end of the market, and it will have access points for that. And then there'll be entrances within the market as you go around the building and into the market courtyard. So we wanted to make sure that there were multiple ways to get within that market space. So you know, we're up to 3 vendors that are interested already without having to had marketed the market hall yet as well. So we're very excited about that. Yeah. We've also, you know, spent a lot of time working on the connection to the street, especially the Lisa Lane connection, to make sure that it's both functional, so we have space for tables and outdoor space, but also connects into the pedestrians and the street parking. The next one also shows you the commercial space. Go ahead. The commercial space, really spending time getting this connection to the streetscape, to the retail or commercial tenants that are along this border. I'm going to skip that for a second. So I'm going to come back to the slide in a minute. I wanted to let you know that we increased parking on site to 519 stalls currently. 264 of those will be underground we have a little over a 1-to-1 ratio for the apartment. So every apartment will have an underground stall assigned to them, plus one for me or my manager. And then we have an additional 255 surface parking slots, which was a challenge. This is the stormwater on this site. We've also improved, I think, the circulation. There's a couple of misses on what the staff caught on a couple of sidewalks aren't connecting fully, which we do intend to fix that. One of the things that staff brought up, I'm not sure which plan review it was, but they don't want the large entrance. Their recommendation was to come back and make it more of a commercial entrance to the site. So we're hoping that you will weigh in on which we should do. We put a traditional street entrance into the site because we felt that you wanted it to look open and you wanted it to look like a city facility. And so that's how we presented it. Some of the comments back from staff said, no, this isn't a traditional commercial entrance. It should be smaller. So we're willing to do either, but just wanted to let you know that we prefer the larger opening. We think it makes the building feel more open and more inviting. We're still working on the name. Traced at the Market is still probably the leading contender, but we have not finished finalizing the name, but we will finish that at the SIP level. We are doing bike racks on site. And I think for me, the last piece I want to talk about, and then I'm going to hand it over to Paul for the architecture, is the building material question. So we did build panels of examples of the building materials. We are using a brick base and significant, can you flip back because I want to show this in a second. There we go, that's fine. Go one more forward, there you go. A brick base, and we've put a lot of stone on the front and on the sides and in the entryways where people will have a lot of interaction with it. This is the wood panel, which is here. This is actually a siding that's put in a commercial system called the Tamworth system, so it brings a silver pop out into the way that the siding's put on. And then corrugated wraps some of the extrusions and within the spaces, so that's the final one you see. And then there's a mix of shaker, wood, and lap siding in the different colors. There has been some comments about, is this a residential product that we're proposing? And so can you flip that? I brought some examples. Actually, Meadow Ridge uses the same material. There are two materials that have this exact same look. One is LP Smart Side, which is the one that I propose, and the other one is Hardy Plank, which is made by mining cement, basically. It's a cement board product. We don't like it environmentally. It's actually a little bit less expensive than LP Smart Side is. LP Smart Side is a completely sustainable product. It's made of wood. It's made in Tomahawk, Wisconsin, and Hayward, Wisconsin. And it's much lighter in transportation, and the warranties are exactly the same. So people are using it, and in fact, go ahead, can you move to the next slide? Brown Pipe Reserve, all of their siding is LP Smart Side. In fact, I talked to the rep this morning to make sure that was the case. Go ahead. Market West is using LP Smart Side and brick within their facade, but neither of those have metal components, which we've added into our facade. And then I also brought a couple examples because nobody's using this newer detail of the multifaceted wood colors in that Tamlin system. And so I brought in a couple of national examples. This is actually in Seattle. It's a 6-7-story building using that material, as well as one that has a retail and residential mix out of Colorado that's using that material. And I can provide a lot more examples of those materials. The other thing, just one more comment about Hardy Plank versus LP is OSHA has been very concerned with Hardy Plank because it has crystalline silica in it as well. Crystalline silica is a carcinogen, and if you breathe it in without a mask, you get mesothelioma, just like you do with asbestos. And so OSHA has been very, very strong supporter of not using Hardy Plank in our job sites, and there's is it $50,000, Jason, for the first fine if you're caught cutting it without a mask. So I have brought my architect and my project manager to talk more about materials if you have specific questions about the building materials. But for now, I'm going to pass it over to Paul to talk about the landscaping.
Thank you very much. And first I want to thank you all for the opportunity to be here, and it's good to see many of you again. I've got friends in this room
we go way back. So anyway, thank you very much. I'm the project landscape architect, and I was asked to prepare a conceptual landscape plan. So you're going to see a bunch of circles, but I did talk to Eileen about this project together to get a fit in the field. And what you see are large circles, which are canopy trees, small circles, which are ornamental trees, and then the little crosshatch things are evergreens. And the intent of this plan is to show that we can provide a canopy, a large tree system that meets your standards for parking lots and point requirements for screening. So you see that we can fit this in comfortably. What you're not seeing with this plan is all of the shrubs and such, because this, when I prepared this was at a 60 scale, and we don't like, the landscape architects don't like preparing detailed plans at this small scale. So the next iteration, once we move on to the next stage, we're going to start putting names on all of the plants. We're going to be putting all of the foundation plantings and accent plantings, and there's stormwater management areas that are going to have native forbs and grasses. So this is going to be filled in to become a full landscape plan. I would like to talk a little bit about materials, because I know that's been an issue as well. I have been doing this for quite a while, and I think Lee could tell you that we're from the same school, and we like to use native plant materials. So you're going to see a lot of swamp white oaks, birch, and other types of materials or plants that are native to the area, native to this area, and they grow very well. They're compatible. You're going to see them all over the place. And you're also going to see a variety of native shrubs and native perennials. We use a lot of perennials, so you're going to see a lot of native grass. It's a little blue stem, probably not big blue stem, but side oaks, and a number of other types of plants that are going to be very attractive, look good year-round, and be very hardy and sustainable. That's very important. They're going to be low maintenance, and they're going to look great. I'd be happy to answer any specific questions. Robin talked about the potential dog area. Had a lot of experience working with dogs. I was the chair of the Dogs and Parks Committee in the city of Madison many years ago, so we've had a lot of experience putting them together. They're very, very common. They're very easy to maintain and very popular. Many places like this are going to them now, and they're most places are pet friendly, and this is no exception. So, Robin, that's it. Unless there's any questions about landscape.
Any questions for Paul?
Leaf, you got anything?
Leaf is happy. Leaf is happy.
I think that's it. I mean, the last piece, I think, just to remind you, is the height is, it's a 4-story interior building that will appear to be 5 stories in some locations. We're getting under the airport requirement for the zoning, as well as our loan and HUD requires us to be at that height. So there were 2 reasons that we're at that staggered height that we are. So I think that's it. If you have any questions, we have the whole team here to answer any.
Yes, I can tell Mark is happy being on the airport commission that it is within the... Okay, David, it looks like you are anxious to start with your questions.
A301, the building plan. Can you explain, well, no, on the left hand, on the western building, we talked about the link through from parking at the back into the space. We also said it would happen on the other side, but I don't quite see how it does happen on the other side. Can you explain that for me?
Okay. Over here at the market, you've got a direct pass through at this point, right here, that will allow you to come from the interior street portion to the parking lot over here. So that's directly straight across. And then over here, it's the same thing. We've got a little bit larger lobby.
But there's nothing that stops you entering the building, the corridor there, as you've shown it.
Yeah, this will be a
Yeah, there's a door there on the, sorry.
There is a door there.
There is a door.
There is a door there, yes.
Probably needs a magnifier here, isn't it?
No, it's just.
I'm just
Mr.
kidding.
It's just my fault that I forgot to.
Okay. How do you, yeah, how do you get into the market from
The
there?
market has multiple entries.
No, from that parking on that side, yeah.
From here,
Yeah.
you would come into that same pass-through area and this enter in through here.
Okay. So that thing that looks like a wall is a door?
Right.
Okay.
It's a vestibule.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so it would be open to the market? Or
No,
would-
there'll be a door
there would be
there.
there
There will
would
be
be a
doors
door.
there, that all has to be
Okay,
secured.
okay. Sorry to be petty.
No, it's fine.
Well, David, you are helping them so that they succeed.
Absolutely.
So that it all looks good. So that's our goal in any case, so.
Yeah.
Other questions, Dennis, I know you are thinking about,
No, I'm fine with this. Yeah, this is good.
Kathy, what do you,
The image here, it says public. Where is that located on the plan?
Okay. Let me see which one we're pointing at, I'm sorry.
He's pointing out this door right here.
Okay. Yep. Nope. Sorry. That one is right back here. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so that right here is the entrance from this back parking lot that would allow you to come through that area there. And obviously, we'll come up with something more clever than public, but for right now, right now, we're just trying to relay that information.
okay,
Can I have one more?
yes,
On the
David.
landscaping, is there a big image to what it's like standing in the middle of this 4-story development?
Not yet.
No, okay.
This is just conceptual
Yeah,
at
all
this
right,
point,
okay.
to show that
Okay.
we meet the standards, and that'll be the next iteration.
Okay.
All right.
Because I think that becomes important, isn't it? Because you get a sense of place of being there.
That's my job.
Yep.
Yeah, well, maybe time for Paul and David to have a coffee, isn't it? So, and,
He's the expert.
Can I ask a question?
yes,
Can we talk about the exterior materials a little bit? Am I correct in every place that looks gray on here is actually that blue? And everything that looks tan on?
This blue turned out blue, and it's not supposed to be blue. Sorry about
This
that.
color is supposed to be closer to gray, like a deep gray. So we didn't want to hold up bringing the materials, but we'll bring a better
Okay.
dark gray color for the material.
And every place on here that has kind of this reddish look is that wood product?
Correct,
Yep.
yep, this product.
Okay. So am I the only, I look at all that wood product and I look at that corrugated steel and I just don't really like either one of them. So I'm interested in other people's reactions to them.
okay, what do you think, guys? Cindy doesn't like some of these things, so,
I think that wood is, that the wood look is, that's just going to be really intense.
but it does look nice, doesn't it?
Not to me, it doesn't.
Oh,
But-
okay.
But
This is what it will look like. This is the exact same product installed. The only difference is this doesn't have the silver inset.
yeah. Well, it's a little hard to tell what that really looks like from those photos. I'm just interested in other people's reactions to them. I mean, it's
Yes.
kind of a personal preference. And
Yes, let's hear from the other people, other folks here now. So what do you think?
so, the one more question. This thing that's called Market on here, where it's got Market, which material is that?
That's all brick.
Oh, that's the brick.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're really trying to bring that industrial,
Yeah.
you know, it's been here a while feel into the market.
Yeah. Okay.
Beautiful bricks.
That's why we're using the tumbled brick
Yeah.
look too as well.
I love the brick. I
like the
don't have any.
Wow, lot of excitement about the brick. So if you have some more questions about the landscape or the material.
Wait, nobody said anything about the color. Am I the only one that wants to look at the?
Well, different people like different things.
I know, and if that's the case, then I'll be quiet, but I just was curious.
No, you
when I was
should,
having-
no, you should ask
I
what
was
you
just
like to
curious if
ask.
anyone
You
else
don't
had
have to
any
be.
reactions to that.
I'm not a big tin person, but
She
was very sparingly.
It is sparingly. It's really meant as an accent, and what we found is it reflects the light very well, and so it gives you some more dimension and light to the building that you don't get if you are an all wood-based or brick, stone-based product.
But it is very sparingly.
It's really only wrapping the corners, Cindy.
Yeah, I like.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I think I leave
And I
that,
love it. So
Personally, I would wrap my corners with something else.
I leave that to the architect and see folks. Yes, David, you have, you are, no more questions,
Can I
huh?
just ask a quick question?
Yes.
Is there a building, I know you mentioned several buildings that have similar materials. Is there a building in Dane County that we could see that has the brown?
The wood
look?
product?
Yeah.
Actually, there's very few. I think
Okay.
there's one in Wisconsin.
Oh, where's
So
that
it's
off of?
very popular, it's coming, and that's one of the reasons we're moving to this versus the, everybody was using, and I used it and traced it, was the brighter colors, although we were a little bit muted, but kind of those brighter, I don't want to call them circusy, but much more bright poppy colors. And the newer trend is now going to more earth tones and matte metals and real stone or brick look.
What happens to that corrugated steel as time passes? Does
It's
it,
actually coated and it's been wearing really well.
So it's-
Yeah.
by that you mean the look stays the same, it
Yeah.
doesn't get
It's not
muted?
like-
Yeah,
That wasn't the answer, Cindy was good. It doesn't rust and, yeah.
Yeah, I actually said to Abby earlier that there would be no rusting, so.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
There will be no rusting. I was concerned
yeah.
about the same thing, so.
I was hoping it would tone down a little.
Products that I don't have to
Yes.
maintain in 10 years.
More
Well, and
questions?
actually, I was just going to say, Cindy, I appreciate your comment because it really is, I think, a kind of a preference thing, but we would like to hear from the Plan Commission in any recommendation you make tonight about whether you want the building materials and architecture to be included as part of the approval. I think, personally, I think that makes a big difference to the city council. And, we had our TIF team in here yesterday and we were all looking at the materials and it was kind of mixed opinions among staff. So we would really appreciate, I'm glad that you asked the question, Cindy, and we would appreciate hearing what you guys think about it.
Yeah, I know one thing which David probably would wonder, a lot of parking places here, so this is huge.
Was Abby still talking about
590.
materials though? Does anybody have any?
Where, can you point more specifically on these drawings as to where the steel goes?
Do you want to?
yeah, and it's typically, okay, it is right above here, there's steel, so right above here for this vertical element, we're gonna do that out of steel. And then on these corner elements that pop out, like right here, that's, this lighter gray color is that vertical corrugated metal. This lighter color is the light siding, and we use that on all the inset portions of the building.
Yeah.
This medium gray type of color is that shake. So every time you see that, that's that shake. And then this grayish blue is what that blue was supposed to be. But
No, I'm just interested in the steel.
okay, so the metal is just at key points
On the
along the
accent
facade.
points, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just to provide an accent, so.
Yeah.
Correct. Accent material.
And it all really works together to help break up this facade and to break up everything that we had talked about with different portions being different materials. If you limit it to a couple of materials, it makes it very repetitive and very, overdone.
And it never goes down to below
No.
the first floor?
No,
No.
no, absolutely not. No.
So Cindy, are you happy with this input now, or you think that you would
I
like?
just want to hear what other people say. I told you what
Yeah.
I thought about it, and I just wondered if anyone else had an opinion.
Anyone else who wants to say anything about the colors? I'm quite happy with what I have seen there, so.
I'd be interested in the
the TIF team, was it the wood that they had mixed reaction to, or?
I don't think that it was any of the 3 siding options. The color of the blue was of concern to a couple people, so it's good to hear that, although some people really liked the color as well. So there were a range of opinions being represented. I think there were 9 of us or so in here. In particular, the concern, I think, was around the metal and also the wood.
So I would have fit right in.
Yep.
Yes, yes. But remember, there will be all different people who will be moving in there, and
I know.
it should provide the diversity to the whole area here, so.
No, I think
I like the way my house looks, but maybe a lot of other people don't.
Yes, David?
I think the corrugated, I didn't realize how corrugated it was until I got up and looked at it. I mean, it's quite a small corrugation.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think that'll be fine, and it's probably small enough amounts that if it fails, you just have to redo it. Right.
We've had it in
What?
place for 9 years in one of the
Yeah,
buildings I've
okay.
done, so we're real comfortable. That's one of the reasons I pick the products I do, is it's been used somewhere else, and I'm not the guinea pig on how it goes
I
together.
hope we're talking about more than 9 years.
Yeah, well, absolutely, but, you know.
I think the concern about the wood, and I share Cindy's, partly of Cindy's concern, is the wood grain on it. You know, it's not wood. Let's stop kidding ourselves. Why do we put a wood grain on it? Because it looks artificial. You know, it doesn't look like wood grain.
See, I think, this is a smaller sample, but when everything we've seen live in the larger scale, because they're going to be how long? 8?
Yeah, they're 60.
They look, I think they look fabulous. I would never put something on the building that I didn't think looked fabulous. So that's why we brought back it feels more natural. But not everybody agrees, obviously. So
Well, for me, it's a warm color, so it's sort of
that's part of it too.
warm and welcoming, so, yes.
Yeah, but it's not wood.
Yes.
But wood requires maintenance and rots and it's.
Oh, no, I'm not worried about, I'm not suggesting
Yeah.
making it wood.
Oh, okay.
I'm suggesting stop kidding us and making it look like wood.
My comments are based on the way it looks too. I'm all for long-lasting and sustainable and all of that kind of stuff. I'm commenting on the way it looks to me.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Well, I'm kind of curious as to what kind of texture you think would be appropriate. If it isn't a wood grain, because it's not wood, what kind of texture are you thinking it should be?
Can't it just be smooth? Or textured?
Stucco kind of
Could be textured.
And a different kind of
But
texture.
not
a wood grain.
pretending it's wood, right.
Okay.
Does it exist in any other form? Or is it all wood grained?
No.
Well, this is all the same.
Yeah.
This is all the same product. So this product has the same grain texture as this product. It just isn't treated the same way from the color standpoint. So this has a different treatment process to produce the different tones within the grain. So
Do you
this
have any
is-
choice? When you buy that artificial-looking wood, do you have any choice in the way it looks, or is that the only way it comes?
There are a couple different choices.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I was just conferring with my buildings material expert who came with us, and the lap type of siding doesn't come in a flat. And what we found in the flat panel, and we learned this on Trista, and LP has learned this, is that the nail heads of the flat panel, if you do it larger, transmit, and those start to chip. And so that's one of the reasons that we didn't, because I like the smooth look a lot, it's very modern, but that's one of the reasons we didn't pick the smooth, larger panels, is because of the chipping that you see and when you put it up, because you have to have such a large nail pattern for those smooth panels. So that's what, and I really do still like the wood, that's why I brought it, but that was our rationale on not using the smooth panels.
I don't understand what you just said. I'm sorry.
They come in a smooth panel. The problem is you have to nail the panel, and those nail heads.
Don't you have to put that
These are
nail
all hidden nail heads. So you don't have the same maintenance issue that you have on putting a full-size smooth panel up.
I don't have a problem with the lap siding.
No, I don't have it.
Yeah.
It's just the wood grain
Yeah,
tone you don't
yeah.
particularly care for.
You've shown it as a different, what, a 12-inch panel? Is that what it is?
This
The wood,
Yeah,
the wood
there's
one.
12 and
This one.
8.
He's talking about this
The-
one.
This
wood
is,
one?
yeah, I think this is 12 or 16, right?
16.
That'd be 16. So that has to be fixed somehow,
That's what the Talon system
Yep,
does.
this,
right?
this
That's what
Tamron
that is
system
doing. Yeah,
that's in there.
yeah.
This is actually, of all the building materials we're talking about, this wood is the most expensive on the building. So if we, the problem to me getting away from the wood look is it changes the architecture. I think I'd want to change the windows. It changes the feel of the building that we've designed around. If you feel you don't want that product and you'd rather see it in a different color, we can work on that. But I do think it does change what the aesthetic we brought forward on the building was.
I don't mind the color.
Yeah, I don't mind the color.
Huh?
I don't mind the color.
Yeah.
I think it's the
I
texture.
I like it, so I have no problem, so.
Actually, I think I like the entire combination. 'Cause I like the metal and the corrugation as opposed to the grain. I mean, I think the variety or the different textures really add to the structure. So I'm very pleased with what you've done.
Okay, so are we ready to make a motion then, or did we already make a motion? So, and Abby, let's know what motion you would be the most appropriate.
So it would be recommending approval to the Common Council of the rezoning to Plan Development District General Implementation Plan with the following contingencies: completion of a TIA and any recommended traffic improvements, and satisfaction of the engineering, sorry for the typo, staff recommendations. We would need to work out the small conflict between engineering and planning regarding the entrance to the private road. So that could certainly, I think, be done at the SIP level. I don't have
Okay.
any concerns with that. We would need to understand that the landscaping plan would come before Plan Commission at the SIP level, and Water Resources Management Commission would want to look at the stormwater plan at that point. Fire Department approval would take place at that point. And if you all are comfortable with the materials and the architecture, then that can be included as part of a recommendation.
So moved.
Okay, need a second. Need a second. Wow.
More looking at different materials might be.
I'm unwilling to second it because I really would like to have them take a look at the materials based on all the comments we've made. So if we could take that out of it, I'd be fine.
The
Okay.
architecture is okay, but the specific materials would be at the SIP phase.
Okay,
That
would
would
that
be
make sense?
pretty, I mean, yeah, that's is
fine.
that kind of normal for
Okay, all right.
IP to look at
Leaf's nodding, that was his
materials at
motion.
that
Leaf, what do
point?
you
Sure.
think?
That would be
Yes, Leaf is agreed. So now Cindy, that's, you're seconding that?
Now I'll second it if we can do that.
So Kathy, it is that other than the material.
For the what?
For
For the SIP.
For the wood.
For the-
At our
for the
council
SIP.
meeting, I think that was one of the
Right.
questions, is that it didn't have, it wasn't showing the right material. And they didn't want to see it again until it was all.
Yeah, I was going to ask that
Materials were
question, is
chosen.
it, what does city council?
So it would go to the council now as the
They-
GIP?
They would they?
They wanted to be sure.
It's going to go to the
They wanted
council,
to-
less the materials.
But that's what they wanted to see, if I'm recalling correctly, is
Well,
that
architecture was a big part of it, and so if you all are comfortable with the architecture, I think that will help the council. Materials, I don't know how important it is for the council to
I
approve
think
those
that
at the
was
GA.
colored one. You didn't want to see it until-
And Susan.
Susan,
probably-
what do you have to say?
Right.
Susan, you want to come
That's-
here and say what, if there's anything which you want to say or not?
I like these materials much better than what you got on the Trace.
Well, and we've improved and changed.
Yeah, Susan is happy with the materials.
Yeah, I'm much happier, because I was concerned about all those nail pops and holes and the chips on the side and water getting in. This looks much more durable. I don't have a problem with the colors, I don't have a problem with the metal. I don't have a huge problem with the siding parts.
What about your colleagues on council?
I can't speak for them.
I realize, but would this answer some of their questions that you think?
I don't know.
Can I just add one quick
Kathy,
thing?
you're on council.
Yeah, well, Howard said he didn't want to see it until it was more finished, and I think that
I thought Howard was more concerned about public works and other issues.
He did make a specific comment to me about materials
Oh,
and
okay.
architecture. No, he said architecture. He didn't feel that plan had approved the architecture, so he didn't want to approve the project without the architecture approved.
So everybody's happy with the architecture part, right?
Let me ask you this,
Yes, yes.
if you come back with
Eileen.
a modification for the one wood option, would that then mean that you would need to change the other material options?
No, and I think a very simple solution, if you guys are concerned about the actual faux wood look, right, David? I mean, that's kind of the concern, right, is that it's not 100% accurate because it's not wood.
Yeah.
If everyone is okay with the tone of this color, like in this brown color, we could go with a more solid version of that, just not have the wood look, right? And that, I mean, that's a really simple thing for us to bring along.
Well, that's.
Very simple thing for us to bring along to a meeting for the SIP.
And, well, that's what I was going
It
to.
could be a little less intense, but that'd be fine.
Right. And I mean, that's a very simple.
Okay, Eileen has something
I
to
was just
say
going to
here.
suggest that you bring or keep all those samples here, you probably don't want to take them out in the cart. But bring one other one like you were talking about that's not the faux wood, to show the council, because then they can see, I think part of it was the concern about the materials, to make sure, that you knew what the expectation was. This at least shows them, and then we have a choice at the
Right.
next meeting on the color, or maybe the council chooses and, or whatever.
Yeah, that's a
or
good
makes a
idea.
recommendation back.
So Kathy, are you okay with that? Okay, all right. Dennis?
I'm fine with it.
Okay, anyone else now then? So the motion is the architect, but not the colors then yet, right? That's the motion? Or as long as the colors are brought to the city council meeting?
Right.
Well, what is anything being held up by our not approving the colors? Anything in the process?
My impression from talking to other council members is if the architect is approved, the materials are approved, but we're still talking about all color, that I don't think that's an issue. And that's what I'm hearing from you, is that it's.
They're talking about texture. They're talking about more
Texture, not
color and
necessarily
texture.
texture, yeah. But the materials are good, the architecture is good, but that texture of that one, we want to work on, is what I'm hearing. And I think, I don't know. I don't know.
Could you just leave that to the council to make the decision between the two?
I'm sure they could make whatever decision they wanted.
All we're doing is recommending.
But then again, yeah.
Independent
Yeah,
of
you
what we
could-
say.
Yeah, well, I think I would leave it to the architect. I mean, council, how many council people have, well, anyway.
Such a personal.
I think what the council could do is they could approve it subject to the planning commission choosing between the two. One
Yeah.
forward of,
Yeah,
that's-
because then they get to see the materials like the planning commission's gotten to see and the staff's gotten to see.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the motion, final motion now?
What's the motion?
What's the final?
David?
Do you want me to-
I think the motion is everything
Oh.
but the texture of the one material.
Are you okay with Kathy, as long as the material? Okay, so the motion is as you heard, and
I'm the lone wolf on the corrugated, but I'll shut up about that.
okay, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
I second it.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. You can go ahead and have a beer now and celebrate.
Have a
So-
beer.
but bring the other colors here now, so.
Do you want us to leave these?
Could you, or,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to,
We
but.
made them for you.
Yeah, I mean,
Keep them.
we can just bring an additional version of this
Yes.
to the next meeting, and then you guys can pick.
I mean, I don't think there's any reason why they couldn't
Thank you.
stay. Abby,
Yeah.
do you know of any reason why they couldn't stay? There's no, I mean, there's other meetings here, but not too many in the next 2 weeks before council, right?
Right.
Because next week's a.
Unless they want to take that one back to reuse the same board.
No, they'll bring another board.
Okay.
Yeah, just bring another board, folks. Thank you, guys,
Okay.
thank you, and we really want to help you so that we have a good quality building, and it's, which you can be proud of, and it succeed, so. That's all what we are really doing. Okay. So the next one is tax incremental financing District 3, cost for monitoring north and south forks of Pheasant Branch Creek, and I think that's a straightforward thing, which we have been doing for many years. So, Mark, you want to take it or?
It's not mine.
Oh,
I already made a motion.
okay, all right. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Anyone opposed? So motion passes unanimously. Appointment to the Plan Commission. I noticed that David is very popular. Do we have a motion?
I would recommend David as our plan commission representative to the plaza if he's willing to serve.
David, are you willing to serve?
Second.
Are you sure? All right. David is happy, so. Any discussion? Now, remember, you can all go and attend the meetings. These are open meetings, so. Okay, all those in favor of this, sending David to the Plaza Commission, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, okay, we are. Okay, we are adjourned, and thank you guys, thank you everybody, folks.